kick the tires and light the fires. It's time to celebrate our Independence Day. I'm John Stark from ActiveMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And of course, this is a review of Independence Day on Independence Day because it was inevitable. I feel like every channel does this at some point. They find a reason to go back and I'm sure I feel it. If it hasn't happened, it will happen. Maybe everybody's waiting for another anniversary year. I just finally was like, you know what? I watched this movie like pretty much every July 4th. I've missed a couple, or I've watched it on like July 3rd, like almost July 4th. But yeah, I've seen this film quite a bit, and it's not even the first time I've actually seen it with audio description. It's just I'm just finally getting around to talking about it. So here's Independence Day. There's no anniversary tied to this. It's not really an anniversary year for it. It came out in 1996. So again, it's not really an anniversary year. It's what, 28 years? It's the 28th anniversary of Independence Day, guys. We need to celebrate. Let's get in on this. The audio description is done by Deluxe, narrated by Jedediah Barton. And it's a new audio description. How do I know this? Because it's produced by Walt Disney. Like at the end, it actually says by Walt Disney Pictures. So, is the studio that paid for the audio description. So this audio description has been created for Independence Day since Disney bought Fox, because this is a Fox title, not a Disney title. Surprise. It is directed by Roland Emmerich, who would go on to have his life questioned by many times by film critics as he continues to drive film off the deep end, and he keeps trying to find his Independence Day, and it's just like, dude, stop trying to find the Independence Day. The funny thing is, a lot of people have validated The Patriot, and I know we're in this weird period where we can't talk about Mel Gibson. We're going to talk about Mel Gibson. So we validated The Patriot as being a pretty solid movie, and you know what? It's not one of those like weird apocalyptic world-ending movies. So Roland Emmerich proved that he could do a movie where the world didn't need to end. But then he kept making the damn films anyway. He just kept making shitty apocalyptic thriller after shitty apocalyptic thriller over and over and over until we got to like Moonfall. And now I'm not even sure people give him money. I feel like they didn't get the hint after Geostorm, and they were like, oh yes, we could throw him a little bit more money for, what the fuck is Moonfall? All right. So yeah, he just kind of rode his career off of a cliff. R.I.P. Roland Emmerich. I don't know, but this is a great movie. It's the problem is like when you're told that something's great and then you just try to recreate it 1,000 times. It's like making a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. The whole thing, right? We've always heard when you do that it reduces the quality. He's basically been doing that. He's just been copying Independence Day, with the exception of The Patriot. So this is the film that helped make Will Smith. This is why Will Smith exists, not Bad Boys. Bad Boys is how Will Smith got more film roles. Bad Boys helped Will Smith transition into a leading man role on the screen. Independence Day is what made him a box office star. Independence Day is why July 4th started becoming his weekend. Why Men in Black had to follow up, and later we got Wild Wild West. Feel like I'm missing a movie in there. But, the whole like Will Smith July 4th weekend thing that we were doing for a while. But, yeah, turned him into a box office star. Oddly enough, you would think it would have done the same for Jeff Goldblum, who already had banked Jurassic Park behind him at this point. But he did not. Jeff Goldblum doesn't get the same sort of like big movies thrown his way later on in his career. I think he does like really sort of crappy like thrillers like Hideaway. we got Bill Pullman, who gave a great speech, like the speech of all speeches. People like still use parts of this speech. Quote it is has to be one of the most quoted lines. Um, Probably also not done correctly, because this is a really it's quite a speech to remember, and for you to know it verbatim, that's tough. Because it's like you think you know it, then you listen to it again, and you're like, oh man, I forgot about that line there. Yeah, that's right. Um, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not give out without a fight. Today we celebrate our Independence Day. It's a great. It's one of the greatest scenes in a movie. Um, if he was running for president this year, I think he'd win. that that guy, like theoretically, that guy, his president, that dude gave great speeches. He just walked out and just gave a great speech, and everybody was like, "Yes, yeah, we're gonna kick some ass. It's gonna be great." I feel amazing right now. Amaze balls all over the place. Thank you, President Bill Pullman. um, and those are kind of like the lead three, and then we trickle down into the other storylines from there. But yeah, man, it's got a great cast. It's interesting. It's fun. It doesn't lag. It's a little bit of a longer movie. It's over 2 hours, and they use the runtime perfectly. It's a perfectly done runtime. Like at no point am I bored. At no point do I ever feel the runtime. I've seen this one like 1,000 times, and I'm never like, oh, it's this part of the movie. I don't have that with this film. It's one of those films. If this film was more respected by film buffs, which it should be, I would probably feel more comfortable saying this is one of my favorite films of all time. But unfortunately, this is not like Jurassic Park, because it's directed by Roland Emmerich, who people would refuse to ever give that grace to. Most people will acknowledge that this is a good film. But even it's like Rotten Tomatoes score and everything is like, it's just kind of like a summer blockbuster. It's like, whatever. It didn't really make an impact on film. I kind of disagree with that. I kind of feel like it did make an impact on film. We're just sad that it did, because of everything, because of whatever, you know. Maybe it felt too generic. Maybe it didn't do enough for you. Maybe, I don't know what it was. But when this movie came out, it was the shit. And it was all over the place. And it was in theaters. And it was topping the box office. And I saw it twice in theaters when it came out in its initial release, which is hard for me because it came out in an age where I didn't drive. And I also didn't live next door to a movie theater where I walked there. I know like some people had that childhood where they were like, I walked to the movie theater. It's like, good for you. It's amazing. Some of us lived miles from movie theaters. And our parents would only take us just so often. But yeah, I saw Independence Day twice in theaters. So it's just a film that I feel like is excellent. I feel like from the very beginning, there's a sense of dread. And of course, this movie didn't hide anything as a marketing campaign. Like, you knew the aliens were coming. Like, I remember the movie previews had that cool shot of the ship moving across the moon and like headed towards Earth. So you knew what was coming. And it wasn't, that was the attraction, was this July 4th, we fight for our survival type of thing. And it wasn't like, ooh, are they good? Are they bad? It was like Cloverfield, where you're sitting there like, you're like, what the fuck is this movie about? I don't know. We knew what the movie was about, and we all wanted to see it. It looked cool as hell. It was cool as hell. It did all the business it needed to do, and it made everybody happy. At the time, I don't remember anybody being like, I don't like this movie. I don't like Independence Day. But it feels like people are allowed to say that now. Like, they're able to look back on it because of time, and they're not like in the moment. I don't know. In the moment, everybody loved this film. I don't know why this film has sort of like a score on Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic score, and it's like whatever. This is a good film. Like, this is probably the best film Roland Emmerich has ever done, and that's why he spent his entire career chasing it. So, um, I wish other critics would do videos like this about Independence Day, because I think a lot of people, especially people who are old enough, who grew up during the '90s or in and around my age range, slightly younger or older, would all feel the same way about Independence Day. It came through and gave us exactly what we expected. It was never dumbed down. Do I want more from this film? Yeah, because I could have actually been in this film probably for 15 minutes more. I would have enjoyed a little bit more Harry Connick Jr. because his character is awesome. And we just don't get enough with him. His character is just like a fleeting moment. It's so funny to say this has to be my favorite Randy Quaid thing. Like, it just has to be. This dude is Randy Quaid just does not have that many movies where I'm like, yes, you made great career choices. I realize in his career he used to be taken seriously at one point, but then like he kind of just became this character for a while, and now we know where Randy Quaid is. So, if they ever do like a retrospective where they get all the characters back together, they're not getting him. No one's inviting him. So it's it's fun. It's light. It's good. Vivica Fox she feels great here. This is like pre Sharknado for her, like the Sharknado franchise, which she ended up joining. She was in Sharknado 2, I think. So this is before her career just kind of went like out the door, just gone. And she's really good in this. And this is the actress, if people had been able to figure out how to take this actress and get her into the right roles, I think her career would have been better, instead of how her career sort of is now. It's weird she's an Academy voting member. I remember seeing her name on one of the lists when we were trying to diversify, and they went to Vivica Fox, and I was like, we went to Vivica Fox okay. It's kind of weird nowadays to give her that. Like, it would have made a lot more sense like years ago, around like Kill Bill time, to invite her. But no, we did it in like past the Sharknado franchise part of her career. So I don't know what else to say about the film. I mean, it's got just a bunch of great character actors along the way. A lot of them have passed away because this film is 28 years old. So there's some people in here who are no longer with us, which, is sad to see those character actors go. And child actors who grew up, the little kid that played Will Smith's not son, who would grow up to be Jesse T. Usher in the sequel. And of course, we've got Mae Whitman as the little president's daughter, who also grows up to be somebody else in the sequel. Even though I think Mae Whitman's still acting, which is so weird, because she could have played herself. Anyway, food for thought on that. You could have actually had a character age up and play themselves, but we did not. We did not do that. But I'm pretty certain Mae Whitman still acts. I think, wasn't she in like Parenthood and Good Girls? I'm thinking about the right person. I feel like I'm thinking about the right person. So that actress could have been the same version of herself. Anyway, I'm in the weeds now. It's, as far as the audio description, I have to talk about the audio description. I've seen this film as a sighted person, I don't know, a billion times. And even as a blind person, I've seen this movie already. Even as a blind person in my weird phase where I didn't know how to turn on audio description. I didn't know how to do that. This was one of the films I felt comfortable watching when it came on. Like, I figured out how to I got a specific cable box DVR from my cable company that had a screen reader. So I was able to like record movies off of cable and stuff, and I had them on there. And I only really went for films that I was like, oh, I know how to do that, you know, which is odd because I own this film on DVD. So it's like I could have just put in the DVD. But basically films I felt comfortable with. And this was one of them. So I even watched it without audio description, as a blind person, just going through the motions, and a lot of the visual elements come back to me. Um, the only thing that the only question that I had, and I don't know how to answer this, but when they reveal the alien, they refer to him as reptilian. I would not. I don't think he looks reptilian. It's not. It doesn't look reptilian. It has almost like an insect quality to it. It's got these weird like tentacles coming out of it. I feel like reptilian was the wrong choice for the alien, and it gives you sort of like that, like we're being attacked by like lizard people feeling, which is not what this film is. They're kind of like grayish. Um, they, I'm trying to think of like how to even describe them. These weird, odd shaped heads. Uh, they do have these like weird spindly tentacle things. Of course, in the movie, you learn that basically that's their armor, and the little thing inside is the actual alien. So, it's funny because I just reviewed the Quiet Place movies a while ago, and I was thinking to myself at the time, you know, I need to know, because those aliens don't feel like they had any capabilities to build any sort of ship to cross the galaxy. Like if we can't do it, I don't know how they did it. So I need a film that explains to me how those aliens did that, because that's my only question about the Quiet Place franchise: is where did they come from? Somebody had to have sent them here. Because with some of the alien races, it's like I buy how you're able to build a spaceship, you know. And with the Independence Day aliens, it's like you can kind of see that a little bit, but it's like, damn, they must have been working a long time, because I mean they're so small, and then they had to develop like an exoskeleton for themselves, you know. And then they built this huge ship that floats like outside in the universe, and then they built these other ships that can go inside that ship that are all like 15 miles long. It gets kind of baffling when you think about it. Maybe that's why people are like, oh, I don't know about this movie, it doesn't make any sense. You could do that with pretty much damn near any movie, though. You could just go in the weeds with it and be like, well, would that have ever happened? Would you have ever made that choice? Who would make that choice before? What did you, I don't know. You know, I mean, like, you can second guess a lot of choices in films. But at least with this film, I do feel more like that this race would have been able to build something more so than A Quiet Place. I don't know how those aliens got here. I just don't. Um, they're not reptilian though. Reptilian is not the word I would have used. And it's an odd word to use because they don't really look reptilian at all. They're, like I said, they're gray. Which is not even like the natural color for you to be, ooh, reptilian. They're green. When you think of reptilian, what's the first color you think of? Green. Don't look at me like that. Nobody ever hears reptilian and they go, blue. You know, it's like, so other than that, the action sequences are probably about as well described as they can be. It is kind of cooler to see them. They did a lot of building of mini models and then destroying those mini models. So it wasn't all, there were practical effects used in this, is what I'm saying. So they did use some practical effects to get some of these shots. A lot of them were, you know, scale models. So there's a little bit of that, in addition to the fact that, for its time, the special effects looked really good. And actually, as of the last time that I saw it, I remember it holding up pretty well. In comparison to a lot of films, pretty well for films around that same era that have notably atrocious visual effects. where you're like, wow, the film's really good. Oh shit, what the fuck is that? Air Force One would be one of those films. We could not figure out how to make a plane crash, and back in, and that movie came out in 1997. That was like a year later, so they had no idea. Those computer animators were like, I don't know how to do this. Looks like, yeah, it's looks like not even early like PlayStation 1 graphics, but it looks like, I don't know, like Doom on your computer type. it's it's an awful plane crash, and it takes you so far out of the film. Even though I love Wolfgang Petersen's Air Force One, which maybe I'll review at some point if it has audio description. But yeah, I think honestly the rest of it is like I said, best case scenario audio description. Um, it tracks the characters well. The moments are really good. With everything, it gives you everything that you need to know. Of course, there's always going to be like a little something happening in the background, or it's tracking only one character when there's like three characters standing there, but it's tracking the one that's doing the thing that you need them to do. Most of this film is an ensemble film, so there's usually a couple people standing around, and I feel like it does a good job of acknowledging the fact that there are other people in and around this. So I'm down for Independence Day. I actually didn't even realize I wanted to review it this year, and I knew I had seen it before, and I was like, where did I see it? Where was it at? And I noticed I actually owned it in the Apple Store. So, yeah, like I said, I've already watched this once with audio description. So, yeah, I think really the only thing that stood out to me this time when I was sitting down and being like, okay, we talk about audio description, I was like, well, that's good. No, that's, yeah, that brings back that memory. That feels like that's right. That's how I would have probably described that. I was going all through it, and then all of a sudden they're like, reptilian, and I'm like, reptilian? I don't, I don't think so. I wouldn't have gone with reptilian. So maybe it's just like a really cut and paste, easy way of trying to summarize what that alien looks like, but definitely reptilian is not the way to do it. So downvote on the word reptilian. But I like the audio description track otherwise. But it's kind of important to know what these aliens look like. And I don't want people walking around thinking they're lizard people, because they're not. That is not what these things look like at all. This is not a lizard people movie. So anyway, in case you didn't know where this movie was going, it's obviously a desert island movie for me, so it's obviously getting an A+. So yeah, I don't know why so many critics have such a hard time with this film and standing by it. I feel like maybe I should like read a whole bunch of negative reviews, but I feel like they just make me mad, because critics, back in the day, critics used to be really snobbish in the 90s about having this differential between films like that were, you know, made for the masses versus films that were made for not. And a lot of times films that were made for the masses didn't get great reviews. If you look at like Adam Sandler's like entire filmography from that time period, it's just like, we all acknowledge that those were hits and we like them and we enjoy them, but they all kind of have these questionable critics scores. And I'm not going to say that they're like great or they're classic or anything like that, or the best film ever made. But some of those films, if you're living in a thumbs up, thumbs down, rotten, fresh world, I think some of those we have to go back and say, actually, that's probably fresh. It's like you're trying to project and predict what stands the test of time, what ends up making film history, and Independence Day has arguably done that. So the same way that, Jurassic Park and Jaws and Back to the Future and other film franchises that people really enjoy and would stand by, I think Independence Day did that. The thing is, it's a little bit more like Close Encounters in that it doesn't need a sequel. The problem is they made a sequel. That's the problem. Is that we made a sequel. But we do that a lot now. We make a lot of sequels to things that we shouldn't. And if you probably also, you can also watch my review of Beverly Hills Cop 4 today and see how I felt about that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I know this is a long ass review. I could talk about Independence Day all day, every day. I just love the film. Like I said, kick the tires and light some fires, you know? Let's celebrate our Independence Day. See you guys on the other side.